Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I have an important theme this time that was suggested by Urana on VibeTune, and it's about AI art generators. Now, to those who don't know, our technology today enables the creation of art forms in many fields by computers and software that have no human authority over the final product. It can be building websites and painting and video production, and even writing writing articles and writing lyrics and composing music. Now, the question is, what do you think about those AI art generators, and are they going to be a threat to artists, and if they are going to replace them? If you'd like to read all the comments, you can pause the screen right now and take a look. Thank you for the comments. First of all, we need to remember that the human consciousness is in constant transformation and evolution and expansion. Any person who thinks he has reached the top and gets too comfortable there will naturally resist progress and resist even one's own instinct of adaptivity. Of course, in order to stay in one's comfort zone. Anyway, this is a cause of corruption where people resist growth in order to keep the status quo that privileges them personally. Now, in the background, things change. New technologies emerge. Mediums, like recently, mediums have become more accessible. Resources have become more attainable. In the past, in order to write a book or to make a podcast, we needed publishers and distributors, etc. Today, we might need no one. We have our computers and websites and social media. There is no need for gatekeepers. We can communicate our message directly with a large number of readers and audience without the need of an agent or the manager of the theater or the producers or the politicians. You know what a nightmare this is for the gatekeepers all over the world? The same thing with photography and films. I won't go back now to the beginning, but until a couple of decades ago, we had to use SLR and film cameras and the Red Room and analog equipment in order to process and edit the material. And that couldn't happen without so many people involved in the process, where one lazy brat could have blocked the whole project just because he couldn't make it on time to the studio in the morning. He couldn't wake up. It was too early for him. So the whole team and the investors and clients must be on hold because His Majesty, a 40-year-old brat, couldn't figure out his life yet. This was 20 years ago. 20 years later, things got even worse, where almost everyone can't make it on time anymore. It has become normal and acceptable not to be able to make it on time. It got even cool to a certain extent. Now, as a result of that behavior, we had new technologies that developed the DSLR cameras and the digital editing and social media, which can spare us a lot of pain. Generally, there should not be a problem with many people involved in the process. On the contrary, teamwork can be inspiring and enriching professionally for everyone. The problems emerge after the status quo becomes too for granted, where no project could be achieved without many people involved, and it only needs some time for a new generation of bratty gatekeepers and opportunists and enablers to emerge and parasite upon the industry and abuse and bully and harass others. And this is a problem when creative minds who are supposed to work for the expansion of the human consciousness become too blocked by spiritual and emotional parasites. So, if you need to act in a film, for example, you need to have the blessing of a sexual predator first. It would not let you through without favors. Not only sexual predators, but many racially and nationalistically, psychologically disturbed gatekeepers who literally inherit their positions because of their families in politics or because of lobbies and networks. So in order for an artist or an author, all they want is just to share a vision and to channel their spiritual message. The message must go through many bureaucrats first, or must be redacted by special interest and confirmed by the devil himself first. And after you sell your soul to the devil, you might not exactly deliver that specific message that you were destined to deliver, but you will be called an artist and an author, and will be rich and live a lifestyle that looks good for artists, bohemian authors. But you will not deliver that message that you were destined to deliver. And in such times, where the higher consciousness or the collective consciousness, with its self-healing mechanisms, it never gets stuck by those parasites. It always adapts and opens new doors and new opportunities and enables new technologies for the awakened to keep contributing to the evolution of the human consciousness. As I mentioned, AI is not the first milestone in our technological progress. This technological progress emerges from the real needs of the collective consciousness. Because every time there's a medium that enables growth, it would be detected and used by pioneers in the beginning to enter a new age and grow victorious, but very soon would be hijacked by opportunistic factors that will end that golden age. Theater, films, TV, the internet, the press, they all start with visionary pioneers. And after they become effective and mainstream, they will be hijacked by politicians and their enablers. And now, in our age, we do not see only directors and authors who are merely the sons and daughters of the politicians, who create content that no one is really interested to consume. Because you see one content creator on YouTube who makes content from his own room, but has more views and more engagement than established TV channels with hundreds of well-paid technicians and studios. So we're not talking here only about the sons and daughters of the politicians, but also we see a new species of artists, which is the trigger of the current AI technology. This species is called the bureaucratic artist, who might have perfected their techniques to a certain extent, but they see nothing in the fabric of existence. They don't even care. You remember in the global scam of 2020? You remember those artists and authors and journalists who were the trumpets of the governments and the pharmaceutical industry to market their toxic products while virtue signaling everyone else? They know how creepy they have behaved, but they don't care. They are merely bureaucrats, paid by the system that guarantees their safe jobs and luxurious lifestyles. And because those bureaucratic artists have no dignity, they sell their souls to the devil and get rich quickly, since they work for governments and the special interest. They even become arrogant for having a privileged social status. No shame whatsoever. And that arrogance might be totally mistaken, because it creates a sense of sophistication, where ignorant people would take them seriously and look up to them. However, the human consciousness is refusing to get stuck by those useless humanoid robots who are relatively skilled but have no dignity or morality, because they are so blinded by their whims and the world of matter that they see absolutely nothing anymore in the world of spirit. I'm not saying here that one should not work for the government as a client, but if the government is the only source of income that the artist has, the artist will reach that level where he or she are desperately dependent on it, and therefore will adapt and shift their existence and their perception into being the trumpets of the government, regardless of its objectives. And in order to cope with the betrayal of the higher consciousness and their own dignity, they grow some pride and start turning a blind eye until they become totally blind. And even when one is not dependent on the government, but has no problem working on a project that promotes a toxic agenda that is designed to block the expansion of the human consciousness, that is also a red flag, whether the person is aware of it or not. So, in the coming years, artists that are not going to make themselves useful to the expansion of our consciousness, they are going to be replaced. It's not enough that one masters a technique, regardless of how perfected it is. If one is not going to be awakened, do you know what really matters? To be truthful, authentic, and original, and visionary If it's not like that, one will be replaced. It's not about the academic degree anymore or about CVs. AI will replace the robotic artists. Robotic artists are human machines that master techniques, but not beyond that. You need to tell those machines exactly what you want from them in order for them to apply that. But they don't have a vision or an ability to see beyond the familiar patterns. They can't think outside the box or dare to think unconventionally. And even when they try, they exaggerate because they are so insensitive, so they cause irreparable damages. So it's important not to get fooled by their arrogance and sense of sophistication and superiority, regardless of how others are easily tricked by them, because that arrogance and pride and hubris are just a mask to cover the fact that they've lost their dignity and become spiritually and emotionally blind. And in a society where they are being treated and rewarded as if they were geniuses, when they are not at all, in such society, they'd prefer to die than to acknowledge the truth. But the condition to be above the capabilities of AI is acknowledgement. One is perspective, and second is vision, which is the ability to observe the dynamics of reality and acknowledge that observation. I don't talk now about people who speak many languages and live in multiple cultures simultaneously, so they have that unique ability to see the world from different perspectives and therefore grow that paradoxical vision and paradoxical thinking. Those are too advanced. I'm not talking about those. I'm asking for much less. In order not to be replaced by AI, one needs at least two things: a perspective and a vision. If someone is sitting in the dark, one can't see. If someone is blind, one can't see. I'm speaking here about emotional vision, at least, not even spiritual. Only emotional vision, emotional wealth, and emotional intelligence. AI might be able to do many things, but the emotional state has to do with the resonance of the biology, the vibration of the biology, the movement of the biology. And this is already outside the domain of artificial hardware and software by definition. The second factor is perspective. Let's say an actor who wants to give an expression to a character on screen or on stage. His understanding of this character is the outcome of the actor's observation of reality since childhood, and of course, all the intensive work that he did in the acting school. So his conception and projection of that character would be dictated by all his life experiences. Yet, every actor generates a totally different performance and expression of the same character. If the actor was abused as a child or scapegoated, or perhaps he was a privileged golden child or an orphan or overweighted or underweighted, etc., every one of those experiences would shape the perception of the actor and the depth of his conception, and therefore would shape his final product. And this final product, his character, would be totally different from that of other actors, because other actors have other life experiences. So, the emotional interpretation of what it means to be bullied, or what it means to be loved, what it is to love, what it means to be rejected, or what it means to get punished unproportionately for the slightest mistake, while others get away with all their crimes, regardless of how sinister they are and how much damage they've caused. Everyone's emotional perception would dictate a totally different performance that has to do with years of emotional observation of one specific perspective. Now, until there's an AI that has an emotional vision, that grows up in a family since childhood, exposed only to one perspective, without being able to connect to other servers all over the world, downloading new updates about their experiences and perspectives as if they were his. Until then, AI will be nothing like the human experience. I've talked here about actors as an example, but we can use it in other contexts. AI that writes articles or video content, can it be authentic? For example, from 2012 until the end of 2020, I have been a vegetarian. I started to eat meat just again in the last month. And I'm going to write an article or make a video about it, about my experience of 10 years of vegetarianism. Can AI make such an article? AI might scan the internet and steal some content from here and there, from other servers, written by one or a variety of authors, in order to form an article of what it means to live 10 years as a vegetarian. But first of all, this will generate a new problem of copyrights and criminality. And the second is that this will never have an authentic experience of what it really means, like the experience of a human being who actually went through the whole journey. Of course, if some readers prefer to read the article of AI about this, then good for them. But those who want to listen to a genuine experience will not take AI seriously. And of course, many people might not be able to tell the difference between both, between frauds and authenticity. But this problem has always been there, even before AI. Charlatans have always been scamming ordinary people, and people have always had problems detecting charlatans and seeing the difference between the savior and the parasite. To see an actor performing out of deep understanding of the human dynamics, an actor performing because the director doesn't care about anything but cinematography, where actors are being staged like puppets and behave like puppets just to deliver the entertainment messages that contain no emotional wisdom. Some people might not be able to tell the difference, but of course there is. And purity will be consumed by the conscious spectator. Also in writing articles and lyrics that express the perception and the observation of that one specific point of view of that artist or author. Can AI really see from that one point of view? Or will it just be stacking words upon each other, just to fill the space and to say, wow, AI is genius, it can write? Of course, many people would be fascinated by that and would be happy just to have some lyrics or a piece of music. But again, musicians know exactly not only how the emotional state causes the touch and the resonance of the string, but even what has been happening in the radio and in the charts for decades. And this is a huge subject on its own. Whether it is the ridiculous requirements of the radio or of the system for the structure of the song that kills any authenticity and creativity and originality, or whether it is the human fingerprint that is designed to promote whoever the system's gatekeepers want. So to think that programmers would allow the charts or the algorithms or AI to be really neutral and meritocratic, that's a bit naive. Anyway, AI might write a pattern of music, which ordinary people who don't know much about it might call it composing music. Like many people call themselves music producers because they can stack a couple of tracks on GarageBand. But would AI be able to create it out of emotional motives, a life journey, sensual perception, spiritual transformation? Composers and songwriters who conceive and know what love is, what anger is, loyalty, treason, jealousy, frustration, hope. And every human being has a totally different conception of each one of these values, thanks to each one's perspective. If they give a poetic or a musical expression to those values from their own authentic point of view, not only they will not be intimidated by AI, but you also won't be intimidated by any other artist. No one in the world can be a competition because no one has the life experiences that they have that shape their perception and vision. This is the element of authenticity. AI has no idea what love is, or what anger is, or what jealousy, or loneliness, or abuse, or frustration. It might gather some computer data about them, but the emotional conception, that is outside the range of artificial intelligence by definition. I spoke about acting in music and photography, but whether you're a painter or a designer, a graphic designer, a costume designer, a stage designer, etc., before you start your journey of creation, are you conscious of the needs and the objectives of your client? Is your client even conscious of what they really want? Can you make the choices that are relevant to that conscious and precise intention? Can you see what this is all about from your perspective and acknowledge it? Are you conscious of the message you want to channel? Are you conscious of the story you want to tell? And why you choose to tell it in that exact way? Are you conscious? Are you conscious of the human emotional aspect that shapes the conception of your viewers or readers or audience? Are you conscious? This society makes many ignorant people appear too sophisticated. And because of their conviction and confidence, they might appear as if they know what they're doing and what they are talking about. And sometimes when I try to ask some of those, are you conscious of your message and story? Then they reply to me with full confidence, I don't believe in stories. I don't believe in messages. I'm not like that. The most privileged brats of society who have never experienced wars or death or loss, they are being financed by the welfare system and scholarships and their parents, but they repeat such cliches with the intonation of, I'm an artist who's way more advanced than you'll ever be. They think they are 10 steps forward, but they have no idea how retarded they are and what damage the Dunning-Kruger effect did to them. Because what they actually say by I don't believe in stories and messages in this context is, I don't have the ability to observe reality because I didn't have to. Because my mommy and the welfare system paid everything for me. So I have nothing to channel and nothing to give, but I want to be applauded as a highly spiritual being. This is what they actually say. And those will be replaced because they have become too many and too much of a burden upon the progress of the human consciousness. Remember, you are not only a technician, you're not only a performer. If you are not willing to embrace that creative aspect and authority of the art creation, you will be replaced. Authority from the word author, the alpha. I made a video about this in the past. I speak about the one who can connect with the world of spirit and thought and imagination, and the creator incorporates that vision in the world of matter. Being a non-thinking technician or a robotic performer or a bureaucratic artist will become slowly useless and will be reserved only to the political class until it ends hopefully by taking down all the parasites and making more space for real visionary authors and real empathic creators to manifest their messages and enter a new age. This is not a doomsday prophecy. It's good news. Thank you, Yavrana and Vibe Tune, for the comments. Thank you, everyone, for staying with me. I'm Shredy Jabarin. Ciao.